What's up, everybody? It's Chef Joe with Chef Gone Carnivore, and today we are going to talk about how to clarify butter. Now, why on earth would you want to clarify butter? Well, here's why. So, in order to get a really good sear on your steak or whatever piece of meat you're searing, you really want to get to high temperatures. Now, in a regular kitchen or in a non-carnivore kitchen, you have a lot of options to do that. There are a lot of vegetable oils and canola oil and olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil. All of those have high smoke points, so those oils can get really hot, and that allows you to get a good sear on a piece of steak. So you pour that oil into a pan, turn it on high, let it get really hot. You pop your steak on there and you hear that tss, that really loud applause or sizzle. That's how you get a good sear. Now on carnivore, none of those oils are options anymore because none of them are animal based. So for us, we don't have a ton of options, but the options that we do have are pretty good ones. So you could use animal fats like rendered bacon fat, lard, rendered beef tallow, schmaltz, which is chicken fat. You do have options as far as animal fats go. But another option you have that may get overlooked sometimes is clarified butter. Now you just take a normal stick of butter, you melt it, and then you separate the milk solids from the fat. You just keep the fat, and now all of a sudden, instead of having a low smoke point like whole butter at around 250 degrees or so, by removing those milk solids, you've actually raised the smoke point of clarified butter all the way up to around 400 degrees, which is plenty hot enough to get a really good sear. And so clarified butter is a great option and an everyday use that you can use to get good sears on the meat you're eating on the carnivore diet. It's very easy to do, and it's a lot cheaper than buying clarified butter at the store. If any of you bought clarified butter from the store, it is crazy how much they charge for it. So if you were to buy a small thing of clarified butter, like this is 8 ounces, it would probably be like $6 or $7, $8, something like that. That's a lot, especially since this came from 2 sticks of butter, which if you buy butter on sale is what, maybe $2 maybe. So a quarter of the price to just make it yourself. And it really doesn't take that long. You're just melting the butter, skimming off some foam, and then pouring off the fat and leaving the milk solids behind. It's not too hard. I'm gonna show you how to do it, and then you too can use clarified butter to get a better sear on your steaks. Okay, so I'm starting the clarifying process now. I've got 2 4-ounce sticks of butter here that I'm just gonna melt down. I have my stovetop on medium heat just to get that starting to melt. And as far as what kind of butter to use, that's really up to you. You can use whatever kind you want, whatever you're comfortable with. Just realize we're taking out all the milk solids, so some of the qualities of a more high-end butter are going to be removed, and all we're going to be left with is the fat, the butter fat. So keep that in mind when you're deciding what kind of butter to use, but it's really just a preference thing. Use whatever one you want. I'm just using 2 sticks of like grocery store brand sweet cream butter. I like to save my nicer like Kerrygold butter for when I'm using it whole. But since I'm clarifying this, I'm just using a cheap butter. So you can see those are starting to melt pretty quick. And once they melted all the way, then we'll talk about what to do next. All right, so that butter, those 2 sticks of butter have melted. And you'll notice there's a couple of different components to this butter. We've got this foam on top. That is the whey protein. And then there's these milk solids like that. All those that you see coming to the top there are milk solids. And then this stuff on top, this clear yellow fat, is exactly that, butter fat. So what we want to do now that it's melted is we just want to turn off the heat. So let me turn off the heat here. So now the heat is off. I am just going to let this sit for a few minutes. And while it is sitting, I'm going to skim off the foam on the top. You see how clear that is underneath? But basically, just either, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can take a spoon and just skim it skim it along the top. You could also use a mesh strainer like this. Basically, see how it just picked up that foam just by setting it in it? So you can kind of come in and strain it out, and even just touching the back of it to it. So that's a quick way you can do it. You can use a spoon if you don't have a strainer to use. But anyway, we just want to get the foam off of the top of this. So I'm going to clear this foam off. You don't want to disturb the actual butter because we want all those milk solids to settle down to the bottom of the pan. So you just want to skim this stuff off top. So I'm going to finish skimming this, and then we'll show you what to do next. All right, so that is my clarified butter. Now underneath all of this is a bunch of milk solids, and that is what I'm wanting to avoid. I don't want those in my clarified butter, or else my butter will not be able to get very hot before it burns. So what we're going to want to do is either pour off the fat on top, or take a ladle, a small ladle, and draw the butter on top. In fact, if you've ever had lobster, you may have heard them refer to the butter that comes with it as drawn butter. All that means is they've done this, and then they've drawn the fat from the top, and that's clarified butter. So if you were to pour it, so do you see where the cloudiness is? That is the milk solids, and I do not want to pour that into this. So right there, it's coming, so I'm going to stop. So all of this is milk solids. If you did not want to waste this, you could just let this cool again and still put it on your meat or on your eggs, and it will taste nice. There's a little bit of fat in it, but it will not give you the normal fat that butter would. If you want to use it for that, go for it. All right, so what we're left with is this clarified butter here. Now this butter is, you can see it's clear, yellow, and this is just pure butter fat. So this is what we would want to use rather than whole butter if we are going to sear meat or sear steaks in a cast iron pan, or to saute with. Anything you need high temperature cooking, you want to use clarified butter rather than whole butter. And if you want ghee, which is just like clarified butter, all you do is, I'll make a video on ghee as well, but if you want to make it before I put the video up, ghee is the same thing as this, except when you melt it, you let it sit over heat for a while, and you actually toast the milk solids before you draw the fat off of it. All right, so that is how you clarify butter. I keep it in the fridge. It will last somewhere between 6 months and 9 months in the refrigerator if you leave it in there most of the time. Just take a spoon or a knife and just scrape out what you want. It will get hard in the fridge, but just scrape out what you need and throw it into your pan, and then you can get a really nice high temperature in your pan to sear your steak with. So that's how you do it. Hopefully that takes some of the intimidation out of how to clarify butter. It's really easy. Now, whole butter still has its place in cooking steak or in eating steak. That's what you want to finish the cooking with. You don't want to use it to sear or saute with. So at the end of cooking, you could throw some whole butter in the pan with the steak and use it to baste. I'll show that French basting method for cooking steak in other videos. But whole butter still has its place in cooking, just not in high temperature cooking. That's what clarified butter is for, or other animal fats. All right, so hopefully that was helpful for you. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up or subscribe. Those are both helpful to me and to the channel. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, until next video, see ya.